Adams State likes to brag about our graduates' high rate of acceptance into medical school and the impressive careers so many of these alumni develop. Today's speaker is one of our greatest stories in any field. We are honored to welcome Dr. Lynn Drake, an ASC graduate of 1966 and 67, who's board certified in dermatology and dermatopathology. How do you even practice that? If I may be excused the pun, her achievements and qualifications are much more than skin deep. The short version of Dr. Drake's resume is 9 pages long. This former Monte Vista farm girl is an internationally recognized expert in her field. She has advised congressmen and presidential candidates and helped craft national and international health policy. She has spoken before hundreds of medical organizations and given hundreds of media interviews, among them McNeil Lear, CNN, ABC News, and 2020. She has been a visiting professor at more than 60 universities and received several named lectureships. She has authored more than 100 papers and been a reviewer or editorial board member of several prestigious medical journals. Dr. Drake is currently a lecturer in dermatology at Harvard Medical School and a member of the medical staff at Massachusetts General Hospital, and serves as Director of Government and Policy for the Wellman Center for Photomedicine, which is operated by those two institutions. After graduating from Sargent High School as valedictorian, I might add, at age 16, she went on to complete both her bachelor's and master's degree in mathematics and education at Adams State in just 4 years. She then earned her MD from the University of Tennessee School of Medicine. She is also a graduate of the Advanced Management Program at Harvard Business School. Dr. Drake was selected as a Robert Woods Johnson Health Policy Fellow and a Congressional Fellow. She worked on health policy and legislative issues for Senator Bob Dole in the U.S. Senate. She also served as a health advisor to the George H. Bush 1988 presidential campaign, and in 1991 received a presidential appointment as a U.S. delegate to the World Health Organization. She also received a presidential appointment to the National Advisory Board for Arthritis and Skin Diseases at the National Institute of Health and to the National Policy Forum Council for Healthcare Reform. She is a past member and acting chair of the FDA Dermatologic and Dental Advisory Committee. Throughout her career, Dr. Drake has been active in numerous professional organizations, serving on several such boards and as president of the American Academy of Dermatology and the Women's Dermatologic Society. Her dozens of professional awards include being named one of the 100 best doctors in America in 1992. I had the pleasure last evening of having dinner with Dr. Drake, and we had a really nice chat, all of us did. And one of the things she said really stuck out to me, that with all of these accomplishments, she still sees herself as a Valley girl, San Luis Valley girl. And she still feels like a kid in the candy store with her nose pressed up against the pane of glass, watching all of the amazing things around her. We're so fortunate to have her here today, and we're very proud to claim Dr. Drake as an alumna and pleased to host her today as our commencement speaker. Dr. Drake.
Wow, that's always fun, and you never know what to say, except I hope I don't disappoint you today and live up to that wonderful introduction. Thank you, Dr. Falding, for your kind introduction. Good morning, trustees, honored guests, and most of all, graduates. I'm both honored and humbled to be addressing you today, as a short time ago, I walked across the same stage. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about something that's slightly uncomfortable for me, and that's kind of my career track, because that's what I was asked to talk about. Also, I'm a little anxious because even though I've given lots and lots of talks, this one is particularly important, and I think it's because it's home. I've got friends and neighbors, and all of you, and so it's interesting. Coming home is a little harder than you think sometimes. So bear with me. I hope I don't get nervous. Anyway, today I want to talk to you about your GPS, but I don't mean that remarkably handy gadget you keep in your car to get from point A to point B. That GPS has limitations because it isn't hooked up to your heart and your mind. I want to talk to you about your personal global positional system. The one that can let you know when you should change course, or when you need to take a side trip, or how to deal with an unexpected detour. Have you ever made an unplanned stop just to look over a scenic view, or visit a historic marker with your mom or grandma? How about taking an enticing back road to an old mining camp, or to try a great snowmobile area? Ever go off trail to ski the best powder in the world, which is right here, by the way, or to check out a fishing hole with your dad or granddad? I want you to take a moment to think about unplanned and unforgettable side trips you have taken and what they have meant to you. And think about what you might have missed had you not captured those moments. As you prepare for your post-diploma life, make sure that your internal GPS is programmed to your unique dreams, tastes, values, lifestyle, strengths, and even your weaknesses. Surprise trips have changed my life dramatically many times, but never more than the evening my mother posed a simple question as we stood side by side at the kitchen sink. A few weeks earlier, I had graduated from Sargent High School as valedictorian with a 4-year scholarship to any school in the state. But I wasn't going to go to college at all. I received an engagement ring for graduation, and I was going to get married. That's when my mother asked me. She said, "Lynn, are you really ready to start doing dishes?" Whoa, no way. I had no idea why I took that particular question to wake up my personal GPS, but that was not the road I wanted to take. So I rolled it out of state. It was close to home. But my dad insisted I live on campus for the full college experience. Bless him. When asked to declare a major, now this is a true story. When asked to declare a major, I honestly believed if I was going to have to go to college, I should pick something that I didn't know much about. So I said math. I must have been crazy. What was I thinking? I mean, jeepers, you know, that was a tough curriculum. And I sure didn't know much about it, but we had it. So anyway, I completed my BA in 3 years, but then had absolutely no idea what to do with it. The job offer from a chemical company to be a statistician didn't sound very exciting. So our hometown family doctor, Bill Bradley, suggested I go to medical school, believing that I needed a profession in which I could be my own boss. Now this jive was some advice I had received a few years earlier. I hate to admit this, but in high school I was so disruptive in study hall that the principal made me work in the office so I wouldn't disturb the other students. That brought me into frequent contact with a guidance counselor who told my folks that I needed a very demanding career or I would drive some poor fellow nuts. So medical school sounded good, but I needed some additional required science courses. Well, several professors from the science and math department at Adams State helped create a solution using an unusual route. They offered me a graduate assistantship in mathematics, which meant that I could earn my master's degree during that 4th year. And guess what? My tuition would be paid. Terrific. I taught some freshman math classes, and then walked across the hall with those same students to take biology courses with them as my prerequisites. And Dr. Bradley had given me a list of 6 medical schools to apply to, but I only had enough money for 2 applications. I was accepted at both schools and chose the University of Tennessee because its program was accelerated 3 years and 3 months. For some reason, I thought I was in a hurry. However, I had no money, so I couldn't leave in a rush. So we worked it out that I taught math in Mona Vista until the early spring, and then I headed to medical school in Memphis, Tennessee, with no car, 1 suitcase, 1 garment bag, and I didn't know anybody in that whole city. So not only was I one of just six females in a class of 106, but I also needed to acclimate to the South. The first time I used the term, "you guys," it was greeted with deathly silence. And I looked around and one of my classmates said, "Where are you from?" I said, Colorado? And they said, oh, okay, that's okay. For a minute we thought you were a Yankee. Clearly I had much to learn about Southern culture and surviving in a man's world. Even in my junior year, gender issues persisted. You know, I got a C on a clinical rotation after acing the file. So I went and asked my faculty sponsor why. He checked the senior residence report, who had also given me an A. And he said, there must have been a mistake. Who was the attending physician? So I told him, and he said, and he looked at the record and he said, oh, that explains it. Dr. B always gives girls D's. So you must have done very well to get that C. Well, that C stood because in those days, prejudicial treatment was tolerated. But ultimately, it came out okay. Dr. B sent his family to see me as patients, and then one day he showed up in my office for treatment. Chalk one up for the girls. So throughout medical school and residency, I mainly stayed on the medical highway. I obeyed the signs, chose dermatology, and kept driving. But I had integrated a very exciting side trip into my journey. To pay off student loans, no surprise there, right? I had moonlighted in emergency rooms during my residency and liked it so much that I continued that work after becoming a dermatologist. About that time, residencies in dermatology, in emergency medicine, were starting up, and instructors with enough hours of ER experience were needed to teach. So I continued on the side road I had discovered and loved working in a big city trauma hospital and teaching. And one source of confidence as an instructor was the background and education that I had received right here at Adams State. So when my former chief of dermatology called me one day and asked me to come back, I hesitated because I was having such a good time as an ER doc. He suggested I start with 4 days a week and keep ER medicine in the picture 1 day a week. It made sense, so I did. I found my next road when I happened to meet the chair of dermatology at Emory University at a reception. All of a sudden, Emory and Atlanta beckoned. I wanted to go there. I must have phoned that chair 6 times before finally landing an interview. He later told me that he decided to see me as much to get me to quit calling as anything else. But I got the job and my first management position as well. Not only was I seeing patients at Emory Clinic, but I was also chief of dermatology at the Veterans Hospital. This was a time of intense political controversy about Agent Orange, a chemical defoliant that some vets had been exposed to. And I was interacting with frightened and angry vets, and this was my introduction on how to deal with press, politicians, constituents, as well as patients who were very upset. Not only did my time at Emory broaden my base and introduce me to the rewards of clinical research, it led to one of the most important side trips of my life. It started one day in the clinic while I was seeing a very sick 85-year-old woman who needed to be in the hospital. This was in the early days of managed care, and we had been waiting for 45 minutes for this insurance company to call me back and give approval for me to admit her. When the call finally came, my next patient was walking into the exam room. Do you know who it was? It was the dean of the medical school. I mean, I'm seeing the dean of the medical school, and he's there, and I'm going on the phone. Well, what to do? I'm going to tell you something. Decision trees are not all that are cracked up to me. You know, I had a hard time deciding what to do with that one. At any rate, I explained to my dean that I would be delayed a while. And when I could at last give him my attention, I apologized, and we even vetted a bit about the frustrations with the system. And you know what he said? He said, well, why don't you do something about it? I'll nominate you for a Robert Wood Johnson Health Policy Fellowship, and you can go to Washington. If we don't participate, we can't change the system. I was selected. Talk about going off-road. Man, the first 8 weeks in D.C. to study health policy, I was inundated, meeting with members of Congress, think tank people, lobbyists, journalists, the Surgeon General, all the players. Because we had a Republican administration at the time, and I was interested in the broad process of government, I ended up in the Senate Majority Leader's office of Bob Dole. And one evening, I called my mom back here in Monty, and I told her I'd been working on a research bill on AIDS all afternoon. It was 2 senators. She started laughing and she said, Lynn, do you realize the you just spent the afternoon helping to negotiate a bill between Senator Dole and Senator Ted Kennedy in the U.S. Capitol? So that's pretty high cotton for a girl from rural Colorado. And you know what it was? That was the window in the glass story. At any rate, because I had steered off the main road, I benefited from a total immersion in government, policy, and politics. And when Senator Dole decided to run for president, my fellowship was extended, and I had the amazing privilege of being involved in the presidential campaign. If you ever have a chance, do it. It'll be the most fun thing you've ever done. At any rate, I suppose I could have fretted about how off course I was getting in developing my dermatology career, but my personal GPS told me I was getting a once-in-a-lifetime chance. So when it came time to think about leaving, I had several options, but I was advised to go to Harvard and, quote, play with the big boys. Well, I thought I had been playing with the big boys. You know, Senator Kennedy, Senator Dole, at any rate, I went. And sure enough, it was a different kind of big boy network. So the next stop was Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard Medical School in Boston. Scared? You bet. Worth it? Absolutely. I was able to hone skills in clinical research and apply what I learned about policy and politics in an academic setting. By gaining insights into what government officials were interested in studying, and because my academic vantage point had acquainted me with new areas, I was able to connect dots. One example was knowing that the Department of Defense was concerned that our enemies were developing laser weapons to blind our U.S. pilots. Well, I realized that our Wellman Center of Photomedicine had a possible solution. I was able to access millions of dollars for Wellman's explorations in that area. And because of that research then led directly to many breakthroughs in laser medicine that are used today, including the removal of vascular birthmarks, kidney stone laser lithotripsy, and the first treatment ever for the leading cause of blindness in those over 50, wet macular degeneration. Plus many more well-known applications that you may all be familiar with. How about tattoo removal, hair removal, scar revision, and for us ladies, particularly, how about facial rejuvenation? All that came from the Wellman Labs, and it all evolved from a Department of Defense research grant several years before. So it's amazing how John Brown's Body, that book, it has a sentence in it, when you throw a pebble in a pond, you never know how far the ripples go. Well, that's sort of been true with so many things in my life. At any rate, then when Harvard offered me a year's paid sabbatical, it had a string attached, unfortunately. The sabbatical committee wanted me to think outside the box and tackle something challenging. This could not, they said, you can't spend the year sitting on a mountaintop contemplating your serenity. You have to do something serious. So it was time to consult my GPS. Where had I been, and where would I like to go? The highway was full of exit ramps, and I just needed to choose one. The toll was already paid. It didn't take long to figure out my background in medicine and government cried out for a complementary piece. I decided to attend Harvard Business School's Advanced Management Program. My class of 175, only 1/3 from the U.S., was composed mainly of CEOs of global industries. Initially, we were housed on campus in pods of about 8 people for 12 weeks of intensive study that often had me staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning. But I learned so much and made new friends from all over the world. Then I spent a year working in the financial world. My new grasp of economic issues significantly enhanced my ability to promote the financing of medical research. I had become multilingual. I now spoke medicine, government, and business. I'm not even going to skim the surface of opportunities that have presented themselves since I added that third piece. But I will say that I feel blessed whenever I contemplate the fullness of my career. And by the way, I do that every day. I'm frequently asked if I could have done this had I been raising a family. Well, I acknowledge that it wouldn't have been easy, but some trips more than compensate for the hardships. Many of you have understand that because you've gone to college and you've done it, and your families have supported you. So some of my colleagues in DC, for example, simply brought their families with them when they began their fellowships, and it turned out to be an exceptional trip for the whole family. And recently I came face to face with the issue of career and family when I had to limit many activities to take care care of my parents and ill brother. No way was I going to stay on the highway when my family needed quality time. As the inheritor of a family farming business here in the valley, I have once again taken a detour back to my roots in ranching and farming, and a place I relish because it's home. As individuals, you guys, with freshly printed degrees, you surely have many concerns about gaining experience in your field, or maybe even about determining your field, repaying loans, deciding where you'll live, avoiding mistakes, and everything else you're sidetracked with right now. I can't tell you to relax when you feel you're at a crossroads, but I can assure you mistakes can be corrected, the steps can be retraced, that detours can land you in an intriguing and constructive place, and that following a passion, or a curiosity, or an adventure, down a side road, might not put your life on pause at all. That unexpected journey might take your life in a thrilling new direction, or prepare you to travel farther than you ever imagined. As you prepare to go off-road now and then, one more kernel of advice. Don't travel light. Always pack your core values and character, your precious connections to family and friends, and your dreams and ambitions. They need to accompany you wherever you go. Always take them. I must admit, I'm still trying to figure out what to do when I grow up. That's why I'll continue to pack my bags, take side trips, and periodically reprogram my own personal GPS. I hope I've reassured you about your journey from here. It need be a singular path on an efficient superhighway to prominence and financial gain. You're likely to find more fulfillment if you heed your own uniquely personal GPS and what it's telling you. I hope you will listen to it. And I thank you for listening to me. It's been an honor to address you. Congratulations and good luck.